Indiana Jones, It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. The Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we stare too long into the film Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, 1 minute at a time. My name is Tom Taylor.
My name is Pete Mumbert.
My name is Jerry Porter.
I'm Rob Brode.
Hello, Rob. Welcome back.
Oh, it's great to be here. Long time no talk.
Camp was always just 1 week, but now we get to hang out with you for 2 weeks.
Who needs camp anymore? Now we have podcasting.
That's right.
You know, we knew you the day you were born.
God.
Really?
Well, like
weird.
the year you were born.
Really? I didn't.
know.
I guess Jerry did. But
Yeah, probably wanted nothing to do with me at that point.
yeah.
Well, yeah, it's true. It's weird how you know people. What are you? You're like 10 years younger than we are. So it's like
I feel
people.
really old. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you know people, and you think, well, that guy's just whatever. You know, he's sitting over there with his little shoes on and everything.
You were the little brother.
Yeah, you're the little brother, and then you grow up, and you're like the law talking guy.
Yeah.
You with your legal talk and your legalese and your documents.
You're probably wearing a very handsome and comfortable sweater right now, aren't you? Very expensive, some fine material.
You're in West Hollywood, aren't you?
And I'm speaking to you while reading a mahogany-bound, leather-bound book in my mahogany chair. Yes.
Oh,
very
hello.
pretentious.
I didn't see you come in.
Yeah. Very Hitchcockian.
Masterpiece theater play.
Hello. Yeah.
Oi.
No, it's a bit weird because I'll forever be a kid to you, and I just turned 40. So damn it,
I'm not taking
old.
you seriously.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm married. I have a kid.
No. Yeah.
Whatever.
I did all that just so you take me seriously. It's like a bad life choice.
Good
now.
luck.
No, wait. There was the 1 year that we had to take Rob seriously.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
I remember.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. It is such a strong memory in my mind. Jerry and I are sitting facing each other in the cafeteria.
Staring into each other's eyes.
Staring into each other's eyes, which I don't normally do. And this is why I stopped, because of this time. And then people are walking in, and I see Rob walk in. We haven't seen him in a year. The last time we saw him, he's like this scrawny, 80-pound weakling dude. He's a kid, and he comes around the corner, and I see Rob, and I go, Jerry's going to shit himself. Oh my God. When he sees Rob Brode. Oh my God. Because you had over the year, you had bulked up into this Lou Ferrigno character. And it was just stunning.
That's one of my favorite stories. I'm like, somebody did it. Somebody
it's going to be like 20 seconds from when I see him to when Jerry sees him. And I just get to sit here for 20 seconds and waiting for this. It's going to be so great.
Yeah, exactly. And I pooped protein powder.
You did.
I didn't believe it.
That's how protein powder
You weren't the only one. You weren't the only one.
That's what I want to know. Was this like an actual case of there's like a guy, because we always see the movie. Yeah. Did you get like a swirly sophomore year in high school? Yeah, you got on the beach.
That's not enough. That's it. You need a wet finger in your ear as well. It takes both. One of those is not sufficient.
You came back the next year and you were huge.
Yeah.
Like huge. Like the cover of Men's Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
and I want to know, what was that like? I'm dead serious. What was that like?
Did it hurt?
Just, Did it?
Did you what did lunch. You adjust?
Sick of people taking my lunch money.
Did you have a montage?
I like.
Well, it was like September through like February, just a montage of like.
Pete, as a cinephile, as you know, that is the only way to gain significant muscle mass.
Yeah.
What song was to play one song repeatedly. Probably some, Frank Stallone, something classic.
I wanted it to be Rat, but okay.
Oh, well, okay, you're right. If it's my movie, it's Rat. Never mind. Yes, if I'm the director of this film, it's definitely Rat We tried to get the rights to some Motley Crue. It was too expensive. We went with the Red.
A lot of people tell the same story.
Did the world treat you differently? Going from like a 78-pound, like a hummingbird, to all of a sudden a
little hollow-boned will-o'-the-wisp.
Honestly, only you and Tommy treated me differently. I was hoping for more, but it was really just everyone else is like, yeah, it's the same guy. He's just bigger.
Oh yeah. Oh, did you do some squats? All right.
I can see like the night before camp, and you're like, oh my god, this is gonna be so awesome. I got to show up, and everyone's gonna be so And you show up, and like it's just Jerry and Tom are like, hey,
will you sit next to me, Mr. Brode?
Yeah.
Oh, did you put on some weight?
I don't think it occurred to me that I was significantly different. Like, I don't remember that moment. I think there's a picture of it, Tommy, that you posted on Facebook. Maybe it's not that exact moment, but it kind of shows the dynamic that was in play.
Something tells me I'll be posting it again very soon.
But it was in the late 90s. It wasn't as if like weight training was this unknown thing. Like, how did that? Like, what kind of black arts did you employ? And he's like, oh, he's in high school. He's on the wrestling team. He must be lifting now. It wasn't like, what the hell? Yeah.
Like in that original Charles Atlas program where you just pull up on a doorknob.
Yeah.
I mean, really, only the Tommy and Jerry who'd never heard of weightlifting. Like, what?
Explain this dynamo tension to me.
Yeah.
You did what?
Yeah.
You just kept lifting it over and over and over.
Why would you do that? I thought the dumbbell was already on the shelf.
Right. Leave it
you
there.
Put the gyrating belt on your waist, and 6 months later, this happens? Is that how that works?
Sign me up.
Yeah.
A gyrating belt means something different for them.
But doesn't that sound like a better movie than the one we're watching? Like, I want to see that movie. Yeah.
Why'd you have to say that?
The one with the gyrating belt.
Yeah.
All
right. There is a gyrating belt in this minute, but it's on Indy's head, and it's not really gyrating him. Okay, this is minute 63 that we're going to talk about. Let's get into it. This is going to be fun. I swear to God. I was going to be positive this week. I'm going to be really positive. Get a load of this, kids. This minute begins with Indy warning Spalko that she might get what she wishes for, and it ends with Indy staring into the skull as Spalko lists all the neat things she's going to do with it. And this Pete, I think, or Jerry too, mentioned this line, hey, be careful what you wish for, you might get it. I do want to point out, so that all the nerds don't send us letters, we know he is paraphrasing the original Vulcan phrase. After a time, you may find that having is not so pleasing a thing as wanting. It is not logical, but it is often true. From a muck time, we just get that out of the way. We know that Indy's quoting Spock. Okay.
Is that like, in interviews written that like, yes, we were invoking Spock here, or is it just as a nerd you feel you have to say that?
I think you know the answer, Rob. You've witnessed this. You've seen me sitting there just interrupt a conversation. I just made a connection in my mind and I'm going to share it with everybody. Now, what were we talking about?
Because this seems like it's something that might exist in the Bible, or some like Confucius would be careful. Careful what you wish for. I think the Rolling Stones said you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you get what you need. Like, are you sure it's Spock? Like, this sounds very similar to many things.
It's not ringing a bell. But okay.
Yeah. Well, this is. I think
So who had Spock on minute 63 bingo? Who had Spock?
I always do. I'm winning again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This I like this line, and I like her. I usually do.
Her response
I do too.
Is gold. That's pure gold. That's great.
Yeah.
It's like, it's charming. It's like, you see, you're like, oh, am I on her side all of a sudden for like that 1 second where she's just like, I usually do. Click.
She also seems powerful. She seems more powerful there than when she's ordering around the army guys. Like, that makes her seem like, oh, she's actually got power.
Yeah. And she's delighted.
Yeah. She's being a jerk. There's like nothing not jerky about that line, but it's cool. It's like, oh yeah, you usually do, don't you?
But it does. She puts the qualifier usually in when because she wanted the skull to talk to her, and it didn't.
Until recently, I did.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with the self-awareness she has. Like that's not a character I would have thought would have said I usually do. I always do. I would have expected more. I'm impressed with just how aware she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's not it's not as psychologically damaged as I had assumed.
Yeah.
She's got some link to reality.
Yes.
What's interesting is Indy looks really tired here.
He does.
He's just like, oh, these people.
You look at it.
Yeah. He's always just like, you know, they always want to take over the world, and then this stuff is always going to happen. I mean, it's a decade after decade.
Yeah.
Well, imagine
it always
being
involves me for some reason.
Like an AARP member, like you're retired. You've just had like a giant fight, and now you're trekking through the jungle wearing a leather coat.
Yeah.
You know, covered with mosquitoes, and it's 98 degrees and it's 90% humidity.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there. He's held up pretty well.
Yeah.
You know, back in Connecticut, like your honey baked ham has been delivered and it's just rotting on the front steps.
That's Indy. Yeah. That's Indy.
Yeah. Damn you, Nazi.
Wait a minute. Hang on a minute.
Nazis.
I have a question, because there's a honey baked ham about a mile from me.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, and I
don't know why I'm so excited. But
it's you know, what's
Ticket
really
booked.
weird.
I'll be there in a week.
Yeah.
Right. Finally, our friendship is rekindled.
Say no more. Friendship or ham?
Do not recognize the honey baked ham at all, except this right around Easter or Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It's like there's a line down the street and it stretches for about a quarter of a mile.
Boy, that's weird.
Yeah. So do you guys
it makes sense, but it's weird.
Do you guys have
it? Or is it just like people don't want to make ham?
I think I grew up with it. Like, my aunt and uncle would always have it for, like Easter or maybe Christmas or something. And I really liked it. I thought it was good. And I think we might try to do it this year. We've never done like a big Easter dinner or anything, but we're like, why wouldn't it be nice just to have an excuse to have a nice big honey baked ham, spiral cut and everything? Wouldn't that be great? We might do that.
I don't know. Rob, have you ever had honey baked ham?
This Jew can't relate.
Well, I guess it's good. I mean, it's a thing. It's a thing.
We don't have one in this city. I just looked.
Yeah, I don't know if we do. I mean, I don't know.
Why do you live there, Pete?
Probably.
Jeez.
I know. I'm in the wrong place.
I'm sure there are other ways to get a ham, not trademarked honey baked ham.
But can you get it honey baked?
Yeah.
Did they bake it in honey, or is it just honey brown?
Like honey.
It's a woman named Honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just delicious. That's all I know.
I feel like there's Pete's dominatrixes talk again.
Yeah. Are we talking a glaze or a smoky, or is it
oh my gosh. Anyway.
Speaking of glazed,
yes.
Is the skull dead or is it alive?
Oh, it's very much alive.
I don't know. It's like, is the arc dead or alive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
These words have no meaning here.
Yeah, maybe not. Like, is there a life force in it that's causing this, or is it like a machine, or is it infected with some kind of substance?
Or is Indy's brain, his underdeveloped part of his brain, is slightly more developed, and so the skull picks up on that?
Oh,
he has a more developed, underdeveloped side.
Exactly. And so, I guess because Indy's looking at the skull, then is the skull activated? Is that why it stays in a little skull purse?
That priceless artifact, she took it out of like a backpack?
Yeah, it's just in a backpack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next to her pencil case and her compass and her... Yeah.
I bet she doesn't even have insurance on it. Talk about taking risks.
Yeah. I wouldn't talk to her either if I'm if you keep my head in a backpack, I'm not going to give you powers.
Yeah. Show me some respect, damn it.
Yeah, I bet that's like a name brand bag. That's just, she went to Walmart.
Skull tote.
Got them on sale. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it good? Does it go along the same idea of people who are into crystals and stuff, and they hang in their house and then they have some sort of energy and they influence things in some weird, is it just that? Is it work on the same
healing
principles or? Yeah, I don't know.
Jerry and I, as Los Angeles residents, can speak on the powers of healing crystals.
Yeah, can you just stick your head out the window and ask somebody?
Yeah.
How do crystals
work? Let me finish this moon juice first. Then I can answer your question.
Wait, is that a honey baked ham you're eating?
Yeah, where'd you get that?
I read about these crystals on Gloop. Yeah.
Stare into my eyes.
But wait, is she just an early New Age proponent? Like
maybe she's the mother of that whole movement.
Yeah. She's making stuff up. She's just saying like, "Oh, this crystal has power that doesn't have any power," and everyone's like, "Okay."
She's just in time. I mean, the summer of love is coming in like a decade or something, and she's, or even less. She's the hippies are about to start to fertilize. And
when she was Stalin's fair-haired girl, maybe she was like his daughter that he just wanted to get rid of. So he's like, all right. I'll give you some army guys. Just go do your thing.
They keep calling her the fair-haired girl, and her hair is jet black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe they even recognize that's a wig.
They were looking at negative pictures of her.
Yeah, her natural hair color.
Oh, we get the exciting... There's somebody I should have looked on YouTube. There should be like a super cut of squiggly lines on paper when something's going on, like the needle going, whatever that thing is. Like it's making a really thick, crazy line. Something amazing is happening.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means.
Tracking Harrison Ford's pulse. Yes, he's still alive.
Right.
Yeah.
This is measuring skull frequencies.
Is that
the dead eyes? Yeah.
You wonder, is that measuring Indy's brain, or is it measuring the skull's brain?
Yeah, I don't know.
Does the skull have a brain?
No.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to ask. Is it alive?
Yeah.
So what? Wait a minute. That's pissing me off.
Well, what in the?
It's translucent. You can see through it. There's no brain in there. I mean, you can see, right? You can see through the skull.
Yeah, but there are those little glass shrimp that are also translucent, and you can still see them. They have stuff in there. I'm wondering, does does the skull have a brain, or is its brain somewhere? Is this the other dimension stuff? Yeah, I know. We don't have to.
I'm a skull. I wasn't saying duh to you, Jerry. I was making fun of the skull for not having a brain.
Really hurt, Tommy.
If I only had a brain.
Aww.
Wait, when Spalko starts talking here, is she talking to Indy or is she just talking?
She's being really annoying because Indy's trying to have a moment with the skull. Yeah. She's like ruining her own experiment. She's like, just talking over, distracting him and stuff.
Yeah, she starts singing the unrecorded fourth verse of Imagine. Imagine all the people.
Yeah. I don't know, John. This last verse isn't working. It's you kind of went off the rails a little bit. You kind of lost track of your message, I think.
This is a crazy scene. Like he's having this intimate supernatural moment, communing with alien crystal.
Natural moment.
It's natural.
Yes, you're right. A natural moment, communing with
crystal
the alien.
Healing, all natural. Yeah.
Yes. With the skull, and she keeps interrupting. And what's so bizarre is aren't they using him right now for this moment so that he can have like he's the conduit between the skull and Akator, and he's going to take him, and then she keeps babbling about
that's
delusions of grandeur.
Part. Yeah, like she's saying that she's going to be able to put thoughts in his head. Mm-hmm. But the only evidence, even if it worked, like on Oxley, all it made him do was dance around and sing.
Yeah.
Like
soon the entire world will be dancing and taking skulls back to Akator. Because it's the only thing we know it does.
There's no evidence that she's ever received of any kind that she would be able to implant thoughts into people's heads.
No. Well,
I want somebody to call her on that. Like, Indy makes a lot of he dismisses everything she says, rightfully so. But there's no I want somebody to sit her down and be like, what exactly are you talking about? Like, where are you getting these ideas?
Yeah.
Because you
seem like a smart lady, but
you seem really smart. You won the Order of Lenin 3 or 4 times. But I want her to not be a crackpot so that I can care about her and be worried about her and not want her to achieve her scheme.
So wait a minute.
I don't think you're supposed to wonder about that. I think it's just don't question it. There's no question that the skull has power. It's not even is it possible this doesn't do what we think it does? I think you're just supposed to believe that it does and don't question that. I don't think anyone's thinking, as a viewer, is this, is it possible there's no magic in that skull? Like I really should question her credentials. You know, is this on an internet like fan board? Like, you know, there's a conspiracy theory.
I actually totally buy that it does have, like, I'm in the world of the movie. I'm like, okay, there's an Indiana Jones movie. That thing is special. It's magical. It's got supernatural powers.
Why?
But even with accepting that fully, well, because of the music and because it's a weird looking thing and it kind of glows a little bit. And the title of the movie is Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and everything.
Well, why
but like even accepting all of that, I still am not like.
It doesn't do
when
anything.
She's saying this stuff like, oh, well, we'll put my ideas into the minds of your teachers. I'm like, well, how do you know that? What? Where you're making a huge leap that doesn't make any sense.
And it doesn't end up doing any of that.
Right. It blows her brain up. That's it. That's all it does.
Okay, so hold up. So if Indy looks into the skull and the skull sends him a message, how is Spalko, who the skull doesn't even talk to, how is she in charge of Indy's brain?
No.
No.
That's why it's dumb. It doesn't make any unless.
So
the only way this makes sense is if the skull, she knows the skull has no power, but she's using it like a hypnotist uses a watch, and she's hypnotizing him, and then she's trying to convince him that it has these powers. And so that's why she's talking right now. She's not being annoying. She's hypnotizing him.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice. That's a good save.
She's really just trying to get our formula for the neutron bomb or something. It's like something like much more pedestrian than she's just faking him out with this crystal.
She can't even, I mean, the skull has given her the hand. Doesn't even want to commune at all with her. If you have the skull.
The first thing the skull says to Indy is, don't tell Spalko, but.
Yeah.
If you have the skull in your possession, how are you controlling other people's minds?
Right.
Especially if the skull ain't even looking at you.
Right.
You have to return it home first. Yeah, but I think then it's like, you know, it's like an arranged marriage. Like the skull isn't actually in love with you or attracted to you. But, you know, you come home and, you know, the parents have arranged it. So if you return the skull home, the skull will marry you. It doesn't matter if it loves you.
So that's how it happened, huh, Rob?
But that turns into a prince.
That's a bedtime story I'd like to wake up to, but I don't. How would she know that? Like the only thing she knows, like she doesn't know any. Like her only information about the skull is from Oxley. Is it? I think
the legend you return it to the kingdom, and then you are granted the power over men. Like, isn't that the story everyone's heard?
No, I think the legend is only about finding there is like, if you can find Akator, the city of gold, you will get its power, whatever that means. But there's nothing about like returning the skull to Akator or anything.
So you're saying the legend is you control the minds of men.
Not even like it just says you take on its power. You get control of Akator's magical power, whatever that is.
But you don't need the skull to speak to you to get that power. You have to find Akator. I guess speaking to the skull, they assume the skull knows the location of Akator, and you know if it tells Jones the location, she can get the location from Jones, and she can get the power. They're like circumventing the whole having a relationship with the skull.
Well, maybe
she probably wants it. Yeah.
Well, she also says power over the minds of men. Maybe it's only men. Like maybe women aren't affected.
I feel there's some gender dynamics in this movie that I don't feel like qualified to speak about, but I feel somewhat. You know, right. You often have professors on this show. I feel like maybe some gender studies could speak on this.
I agree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you feel like Jones is about to turn around and go, like after she starts speaking, just like almost like break the fourth wall, like wink at the camera, go crazy broad.
Yep.
Yeah, and then they're gonna make out or something. Like it just has that weird like 80s vibe. Oh, they hate each other. Why? Oh, now they're making out. Well, of course they are.
Well, and what's going on?
A man and a woman.
Why is Max standing there smiling this whole time? Does he think Indy's about to lose his mind and he thinks it's funny, or is he smiling because he thinks Indy's going to beat the skull?
Yeah, or that he's faking them all out or something. Jonesy's got something up his sleeve. Something.
Is he gonna fake out the skull?
I don't know.
I don't either.
You know what? I have an honest question about this, and I cannot remember if we asked this before. But Indy makes a point when he finds the skull. He says he's like it's a solid piece of one solid piece of quartz, or not quartz, but crystal, whatever it is, and but the skull has a jaw. So like, is it all like just one piece? Because these aliens were they not able to open their mouths?
It's wired shut after a motorcycle accident. Yeah,
that's why they have to control your mind. That's the only way they can. Yeah, they can't talk. They're like,
well, they're very fragile. It's made of crystal. You know, they had to weld them shut.
Yeah.
Well, how many times do you see a skull with teeth?
Right.
They never have.
I guess
teeth.
if they're crystal,
or they have a couple teeth.
Yeah, they have a couple teeth. You know what's weird? Growing up, my uncle, you know this, Tommy, my uncle, he used to have a skull in his library.
Yeah, I had one too. Yeah. Every Midwestern boy did.
Like a real one?
No, he had a real skull in his library.
Like a real human skull?
Yes.
A real human skull.
What?
Yeah.
It can happen.
Wow.
No, he did. It did. I mean, and it always creeped the hell out of me.
Very different worlds. Like, it's not just the camp thing. Like
in Shaker Heights, if you best a person, you kill them and take their head, and you keep their skull as a trophy, as a prize.
Yeah, it's
so it's how you get the power.
You eat their heart and you gain their strength. It's a whole thing.
So keeping human remains of strangers in your house is a common.
That wasn't weird in 1981.
They're clearly from the other side of the tracks.
Yeah, no. I'm bringing that up because I'm not even kidding. I was watching this minute, and it reminded me of that. Yeah, it reminded me. I had forgotten that my uncle, who was a doctor, he had a skull in the library in his house, and it was totally creepy and weird. It always weirded me out.
It's a common theme. My dad was an oral surgeon, so yes, he had a skull in his library as well.
For practice.
That was okay.
Or they just, you make a mistake at work, you just take it home so no one sees it.
Yeah,
right. Nothing to see here.
But wait a minute, hold up. My uncle was an oral surgeon.
Oh,
no,
interesting.
Yes, he
what's
was.
your uncle's name?
League
Dr.
of Oral Surgeons.
Yeah.
No, and it was unless you're like Saint Jerome or something, you shouldn't have a skull in your house.
I have another actual practical question about the skull. They keep showing it head on as Indy's looking at it. You're looking directly into it, and I cannot tell if those are empty eye sockets or if it has these big weird bug eyes.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like it almost looks like the Death Star droid or something with those big bulbous eyes. Yeah, I can't tell if I'm looking at like a concave or a convex, if you know what I'm saying.
You know what I like is Jerry and I went to Las Vegas one time, and we stopped on the way to Death Valley, and he went into a gas station, and he came out with a giant jug of water and these sunglasses that look exactly like this skull's eyes. They look like the glasses that lady on the Hallmark cards wears. Like these big, giant, clunky, framed. Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
And his eyes, like the skull's eyes, look like that. Like he's wearing those glasses.
Well, I think they make them really big to make them seem, it's a big target to stare into.
But he doesn't have like crystal eyeballs, right? I'm seeing it weirdly. Like it's.
Is that like? Are you seeing his?
They're empty space. They're empty sockets, right?
I don't know.
I saw them as convex. Yeah, I saw them as convex. It didn't look concave to me.
I forget which is
which. But there's no tissue.
Right. Those are holes. Those are like dents where an eyeball would be.
But I saw them as opposite. Yeah, I thought.
I'm looking
protruding.
Right
I thought they were protruding.
Yeah.
It really does look like that. Why is that?
So is there any tissue over it? Like, because I wonder what it looks like, when it had, I don't know if they have skin, but you assume if that's the skeleton, there was some exterior covering that skeleton. What would that have looked like if it already had convex bones coming out of its eye sockets?
That's weird. That's a
problem. Department fail.
Why is it chained down? Is she afraid Mac's going to take it or someone else is going to take it?
No, only a backpacker chains can contain it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, now we see Indy do like a jolt upright, like all of a sudden the skull said something to him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like one of those.
Shorty's still alive.
It's a little bit one of those like don't look at it, Marion moments where you're like, oh, something is happening now.
Oh, this
like,
is what happens if you look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's what happens if you look at it.
So do you think the skull told him something and we just never learned what that was? Like, do you think something actually happened here, or is he acting, or is he just like
really
half falling
good
asleep and he kind of does that thing where he kind of jerk awake?
Damn, you guys told me not to watch the rest of the movie. I don't know.
I want to say that there's like a shot coming up of like of John Hurt out there, and he says something like Indiana or Henry Jones. I think he says something that makes you think like, oh, but there's nothing like Indy doesn't have any experience from this. I don't think he doesn't. He doesn't have new knowledge from this or anything.
Has anything to do with the rest of the movie? Like, I don't feel like this ever comes back. In the movie.
Right.
It might, because I don't remember the rest of the movie, but I don't remember this coming back.
I can't wait to find out.
I do like her line here when she says, we'll be everywhere at once, as powerful as a whisper. I think that's an amazing line.
That is an amazing line.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
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 But why does she want to invade their thoughts in their dreams? Like thinking your thoughts while you sleep.
Have you seen Nightmare on Elm Street? It's pretty powerful.
Have you listened to Rat?
But that's weird because she seems like she's saying you can control people's minds when they're looking into the skull, but they can't look into the skull if they're asleep.
Maybe she thinks, and I don't know what this would be based on, like where she would get this idea, but maybe because like at the end of the movie, isn't she like, tell me everything, like I want all the knowledge? Or maybe she thinks that by going to Akator, it's not so much about the skulls, but it's like being there, and that's the power that you get, is you can control minds and read minds and move things with your mind, and you don't mind anymore.
Turns out the treasure was just the time spent together on the journey.
That's right.
It kind of has that feel, yeah.
Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver, and the other explodes.
The skull tells her, just think about the journey you've had and the friends you've made. That's the wisdom I wanted to give you.
Consequences.
I'm amazed that no one has mentioned that Indy looks like it's Pledge Week at Pi Kappa Gamma. He's wearing this ridiculous like toilet paper headband.
Yeah.
I've worn this all week.
Yeah. Somebody's about to paddle him in the ass. He does. He looks ridiculous. He's got he's got this like bizarre, I don't know, head.
It's weird seeing his hair like this. Like a hat.
He looks like a dad.
What's weird, Harrison Ford is old. Indiana Jones is old. I mean, the whole movie, you're like, I had a hard time reconciling that with the Indiana Jones that I had grown to love. It's like, wow, it's Grandpa Jones. I think that was tough. So some parts of it was like, am I watching Indiana Jones or am I watching Harrison Ford? Because like it feels like Harrison Ford is like still here, still doing it. Yep.
I'm good.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an interesting. Yeah, I feel like that's sort of the case with most huge movie stars, isn't it? Like after a while, you're like, oh, I'm watching Tom Cruise. I'm watching Al Pacino. I'm not watching like a character. I mean, Tom Cruise doesn't count because I don't think he's much of an actor. So it's like, oh, there's Tom Cruise. He's like jumping, but he's Tom Cruise. But like, it's like, oh, I'm watching Robert De Niro. I'm watching whoever. Yeah.
Well, I just kind of feel like his heart wasn't it. Like, I don't know if his heart was in this performance or it's like, well, that's a paycheck. I hate to question, the man's motives, but there's some points where it just broke I was no longer immersed in the story, and I was very conscious if I was watching this man act in a movie.
I think, interestingly enough, he was the one who was pushing to do Crystal Skull. So at some point, his heart was very much in it.
And I do think there are moments where it's like, oh, look at that. Yeah. He's pulling it all out. He's being Indiana Jones. He's 100%. Doing stuff.
I think, well, I feel like saying the problem with this movie isn't Harrison Ford, really. No, I think we've talked about this many times, but I think the writing just got all spaghettified, and it's they brought too many things in, and it's very confusing. And in this minute, they're bringing more in, too, with more skulls and more ruling power, but we don't know how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
I also feel like, you mentioned all these people, Tom, like Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt, or like today you can be 60 years old and be an action hero. I feel like in the 1950s, if you were 60 years old, you were like in a wheelchair. Like,
right, you're a bank manager.
People were a lot older at 60 years old in
they
the
were.
50s
That's
than
true.
Yeah.
They kind of gave a nod to that with Shia, in the earlier scene with Shia LaBeouf. It's like, what are you, 80?
Yeah.
Gosh, we haven't seen Mutt in a while, have we?
True.
Can we talk about like a larger, like whatever? Yes, I was kind of disappointed that there would not be a natural time for me to talk about him in this movie because he was supposed to be the heir apparent to the franchise, and he's not in these 2 minutes or this minute 63 or last week's minute 62. And I was like, we never get to I want to talk to the experts to address like the big plans they had and the plans that at least to this point, 13 years later, have never come to fruition. With him taking over the franchise.
Yeah.
Mutt's adventures.
And by all accounts, he's not supposed to be in the next one, if that ever happens.
I don't think anyone would want to put him in a movie.
Well, we've been having a Mutt. Yeah, I don't think so. We've been having a Mutt watch, and Rob, what do you think? A lot, Mutt sometimes gets blamed, for being one of the reasons the movie doesn't hold up well. What do you think of Mutt in the film?
Well, I haven't watched I watched the whole movie when it came out. In preparation, I watched the first 63 minutes of this film, and I'm generally predisposed to liking Shia LaBeouf, but it felt in some of the scenes, where he's talking to Dr. Ford, right? Dr. Jones, yeah, Dr. Jones, not Dr. Ford, about his attempts for traditional schooling haven't exactly worked out for him, but he loves to read, but not the books that are assigned to him. All of it felt a bit forced. It felt very much like dialogue. I generally like him as an actor, but I felt that kind of like yes, that is what the character would say, but like as a character, because this is great dialogue to establish they're both kind of rogues, in their own way. Like, I felt like, this is well written for that person to say that to the other person who has that.
Speaking as a leather jacket wearing teenager. Yeah.
It's like, wow, they're kind of similar. I wonder if they're family. Huh.
Let me ask you, what about the movie have you liked? What do you like about the movie? What were you like? What was surprisingly
nice? You don't have to be nice.
What I liked.
Don't say it has an ending.
It ends an hour later.
It's only 63 minutes long.
What did they do well?
This point, so I thought I was supposed to come to this podcast to talk about what I didn't like. I didn't really write any notes for what I liked.
That's why you're on the show.
Yeah, you weren't asked to.
Actually, I have such a negative memory of seeing it in the theater, being so excited to see Indiana Jones, and like, I was an easy win, right? Because I was like excited to see it. I was ready to be entertained. It wasn't like I wasn't skeptical going in, like, oh, this is gonna number 4, yeah, great, this is gonna suck, like sitting there with arms crossed, ready to critique. It truly disappointed me, and I want the world to know that I want my $7.50 back from the New Orleans theater I saw it in 2008. Damn it!
Yeah, no, I get it. We wrestle with those things. That's tough. Sometimes you show up with open arms, and you get your arms smacked closed. Not your fault.
Why is it different? The villain here is that like a caricature. The first film was a caricature of a Nazi. This was a caricature of a Cold War. Like almost inhuman, like without feelings, cold Russian dominatrix. At least to this point in the film. So if you're like, oh, that totally changes 10 minutes from now, I'll give space to that. Quite possible. But it almost felt like a caricature. Like, oh, we'll hit the Germans in the first one. We'll hit the Russians in the fourth one. So I don't remember the I can't speak as well as the second and third. But it felt like, oh yeah, like all this is very familiar. With the indigenous folk that he's killing, like, oh yeah, like just like the other movies. Where it felt very familiar in ways that not original but familiar. So And I didn't like the alien. I guess the alien connotations with the crystal skull, where its origins from. I guess it is Earthbound, right? Akator. It's supposed to be from this planet, or is it? The idea is that it's not originally from here. I felt like it went beyond, I guess, what I'm used to in the Jones
Nobody
universe.
knows.
Right.
Nobody knows. We don't know if it's going back to Akator, but the citizens of Akator were all these alien crystal or aliens skull, just aliens, and one had a crystal skull. Yeah, but I get like an alien Atlantis thing, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. No one knows.
Well, so let me ask you. On this, what would you expect? What would you want to see in Indy 5? Because it's coming up.
Well, I gotta go back. Do you think that it was because of the either poor performance, poor reviews, or his performance that he's not going to be asked back, or is it because of subsequent real world problems that would prevent him from taking over the franchise?
I don't know that this is true, but I feel like him not being in it predated more recent real life ickiness.
Yeah.
I think the fan feeling about the character and him taking over the hat or whatever was kind of sour, and they got that, and they were like, let's not do that. I think that's my impression.
Poor casting, poor choice. Or do you think it was destined to fail because of the script, no matter who they put in that role? Wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it was destined. I think it almost worked. I think Mutt could have worked, and Indy and Mutt as a team work sometimes. And I think if the movie had been good at all, it would have worked just fine.
But I hated that dialogue. I like the dynamic between them. I honestly think Mutt. Charlotte was pretty good in the role. Sometimes it feels forced. Like, I believe it's 1957 often, but sometimes when I'm watching, Mutt, I'm like, you've been imported from the future.
Right.
I don't feel you're as of the time. Where like the rest of the movies in the 50s, and he's like, he's like the Fonz came in.
Right. He's very much like he does feel like that. But I mean, I can't put the failure at the feet of Mutt. That's what I'm saying.
No.
Yeah, we can't. That's what's interesting is that whether or not. Yeah, I mean, for whatever, if he's not getting the hat, he's not the man with the hat. I don't know if that's. I feel it's unfair to put that on him.
He's not the Jar Jar of the movie.
No.
If you look at it from the 10,000-foot view, you'd almost be like, well, why is this any different than the first? Okay, different than the first one. You have a caricature of a villain. You have like an ancient. I guess the first one was more of a religious context, like religious significance. But this is, they're talking about a myth of this, holding great power. On a lot of levels, the bones of the film are similar.
Mm-hmm.
To the first one, sure, it wasn't, why is it destined to fail? Or why did it fail? Because it has all the hallmarks of what made the Indiana Jones movies popular in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also missed a lot too.
It's muddled. It's very muddled and half baked. Just
Yeah.
the very plot and the story and
writing.
We've spent months and months and months. I know we took a long break, but it's still off break. We've taken months and months and months trying to figure out the plot of this movie, and it's frustratingly vague.
Has anyone blamed Cate Blanchett? I need to know. Is anyone else listing her as a big problem?
She is a problem. We love her. We love her as an actor.
Yes.
And we love her in other stuff.
Yeah.
But and she should be awesome here.
Yeah.
Cate Blanchett's going to play a cool Russian, I don't know, maybe scientist, but definitely, tough military bad guy. And it's going to be great. And I would have no reason to assume that it wouldn't be great.
Yeah.
But it's not great.
You're like, oh, Cate Blanchett's Russian now? It was just very wow, that's a strong accent.
Yeah.
It completely threw me. The wig, the accent, it was almost like that's not a real person.
Yeah.
Well, it's the whole thing's a little
comedy. They're playing it for
it's
comedy.
it's a little comic booky, cartoony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nobody saw 2010 with Helen Mirren. She nailed it. She was an amazing Russian in 2010.
Isn't Helen Mirren Russian?
She is not, but she convinced me that she was.
She's an English actor.
I believed a woman could Russian.
I believe it too.
Well, speaking of a woman rushing in, this just this just in from Professor Chrissy Porter. What does Spalko usually wish for?
More wishes.
Trivia? Or are there right answers here? This feels very trivia. Like Dr. Chrissy Porter knows the answer.
You'll find out next summer.
Yes. She's a power, a power hungry type person, I guess.
Yeah.
They always make these villains. It's like power, 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 power.
Yeah.
Kind of like Donovan wants to live forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's
very basic power, basic overblown power. Talking to God, living forever.
I feel like she wants to use her power for good, though. Like she says, she wants Americans to think the right way. So, like in her mind, she's trying to do something good.
She's a zealot,
right?
Yeah, that is interesting. She says, "I want Americans to think the right way." That's actually really interesting. You wouldn't. If it was like a military guy on our side, like if his buddy, Bob Ross, General Bob Ross, was saying like, "Hey, we got these crystal skulls. We're gonna brainwash all the commies into being capitalists and everything." The audience would be like, "Wait, really? That's not cool. That's not the way to go."
I disagree. If this were in the 50s, they'd love it.
In reality, they would, but the movie-going audience watching the movie, I think, would be like, "Wait, that's clearly that guy's gone unhinged. Indy needs to reel him in and sock him one and save the world from itself."
Well, it's interesting. She talks about we're having. She mentioned stuff about and your soldiers will infect their minds or whatever. Yeah. You're like, well, if they, you wouldn't even need soldiers if you could control their minds and to have them think the right way.
Well, you got the teachers. Talking about teachers. I like that she's interested in our public school system.
Mm-hmm.
She's taking an interest.
Turning our amazing public school system against us.
I thought this movie kind of had more relevance now, where she's like, it's kind of like it just was like, you don't need a crystal skull, just get on Twitter. Like, get some followers.
Imagine, reaching millions of people with a touch of a button.
She's definitely ready for
with propaganda, infecting their mind with lies. Yeah, exactly.
Spreading whatever misinformation you want.
Yeah,
exactly. Oh, and she comes from, and where the leader of this kingdom lives in a kingdom made of all gold. Sorry, I won't get any more political, but it sounded familiar.
Yeah. Rings a couple bells. Well, hey, on that note, follow us on Twitter and Facebook and all those things that I say at this point.
Yes.
Friends, we are on Twitter. We're the Indiana Jones Minute. We're, what is our thing? I'm trying to look it up right now. This will all be cut out.
I have no idea.
It's, we are Indiana Jones Min at Twitter. And we're on Facebook.
Min like minute or men like top men?
Oh, just Min. Like Minuet, another Star Trek.
Are you sure you guys haven't maxed out on followers yet? I don't know if you can still follow. You better get in while you can.
Yeah, trample your neighbor getting over there to see if you can get in because the door's closing. But yeah, join us everywhere. Find us everywhere and join us there. And find us on Facebook at Indiana Jones Minute and the Listeners Crusade. Find us over on Twitter at the aforementioned Indiana Jones Min. And please come back here wherever you found this show. Find it again next Monday. Oh, I should say thank you to Rob first. I'm like winding it up. I haven't even said thanks to Rob.
You damn sure should.
This has been
Still
great.
Don't know why you chose me for these 2 minutes. Maybe I'll
That's
find
actually
out
not a horrible question.
It's awesome though. You're going to come back for the next movie and you're going to be so buff. You're going to just walk in.
I can't wait. No,
we're going to give you the most robust minutes. Yeah, it's just going to be nothing but action and dialogue and meaty, thoughtful subjects. Yeah.
I know. I think to catch their attention this time, I'll have to come back weighing 135 pounds again. I think it'll be a complete reversal.
Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah.
I don't know how to
You'll
handle
just have to tune in next time to find out.
Yeah. Please. Yeah. Come in next time and next season and whatever. And whenever Rob comes back, it's going to be stunning. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jerry and Pete. Thank you, me. And please come back next week for minute, 64 of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
I usually do.
Click.